Hey guys, welcome back to my PT1 certification playlist. Now, today I'll be solving Ledger, which is a difficult room on TryHackMe. This is the fifth room out of the session I'm going to be hacking before my PT1 certification, that is in 14 days from now. Okay, so yeah, less than 14 days actually. Without much talking, let's get technical, right? So yeah, let me show you how I did this. I normally use my first tab to connect to the VPN of TryHackMe. As you can see over here, I connected to the VPN of TryHackMe. Secondly, was when I pinged the machine to know if it was active. And as you can see from my screen, it's active, okay? It can see some connections, some 64 bytes coming back as well. That's just like they are communicating, my machine and the target machine is communicating. On the next tab, you can see from the next tab that I just ran some nmap, T4 for the speed, SV for the version number, and SC for basic scan. I want this to scan in a verbose mode, and this is the IP address. And also, after scanning, please save this for me into a file called nmap.txt. As you can see, after the nmap scan, we have some ports popping up out. So we have 445 SMB, 443 HTTPS, 80 HTTP, LDP, DNS, SMB again, 3268, 464, 88 cable routes, 389. I think that had to do with LDAP and 3638, right? So this is basically telling me that this is an Active Directory or a domain controller, right? I can see 88, I can see 53, I can see LDP, I can see LDAP. So first process is this is definitely an Active Directory or a domain controller. Now let's go deeper to see what we have from the scan analysis. So from the scan, we can see port 53, which is domain, port 80 HTTP, 88 is Kerberos, 135 is RPC, 139 SMB, 389 LDAP. So you can see we have some domain over here. You can see these three domains over here. You can see Labyrinth, you can see THM, and you can also see THM, right? So what did I do after seeing this? I went to my Nano Etsy host and pinged or make sure that I mapped the IP address together with that domain. As you can see, after mapping it, I pinged the domain and it resulted or it resolved with the IP address and it was very active. I got some communication back. Okay. Now on going back to the nmap scan, I decided to go to for a low hanging fruit like the website. So I went to the port 80 and port 443. So the port 80 was just the basic Windows IIS server page as well as the 443. So it was just basic and I decided not to waste my time on it to go directly deeper on the Active Directory portion because this is an Active Directory room at the end of the day. So what did I do next? What I did next was very simple. I started brute forcing the SMB shares. Now what I did was I used the user guest to brute force to know if guest has any authentication, right? And of course, guest has authentication without password. You can see the plus sign over here. So I used that and I tricked using netsec exec to list out all the shares. You can use SMB clients for this. You can use Linux for this. But I love netsec, just like hackmap exec too. So on doing this, I saw that it's just basic shares at the end of the day, nothing cool or nothing different, just basic shares that the Windows have. So I didn't go deeper. As you can see, here it's very blank, nothing deeper. So I went next to do some LDAP enumeration. Now this is where it gets tricky, okay? So on getting to nmap, I use netsec exec as well, using the guest username as well, and it's also authenticated over here. Now I added this dash dash users to list out all the users of this domain, right? And it did a very good job to list out a whole lot of users, a whole lot. Now something stood out for me in this users that was listed out, which is something in this description, and I'm going to point it out for you. This is why enumeration makes a better hacker, okay? So you can see over here, we have in the description the default password. Ivy Willis is still left it in the description. Change me 2013, 2023 exclamation, and also Susanna McKnight. Okay, Susanna McKnight has it as well as change me 2023 as well. So we have two we have a bunch of users, but we have a potential username now, right? For the two users as well. So I believe that Susanna and Ivy were just newly employed and they haven't figured out how to change the password. So on getting this is good news. Honestly, as a hacker, this is a very fantastic news. So I decided to try use netsec exec to authenticate the credential found with SMB, and of course it authenticated. You can see over here with Ivy Willis, I got a plus. With Susanna McKnight, I got a plus as well. So yeah, that means we are progressing, right? We are progressing. So moving on, I decided to use LDAP domain dump to dump information or to dump information to dump information about the domain using LDAP. Okay, so this was what I used using the credential that authenticated the Susanna McKnight credential with the password. So you can see over here it says domain dump finish, and if I after listing my ls, I got some cool. After listing my ls, you can see I got some cool information over here. So I use Firefox to access all the .html files. Let me show you what it looks like. So this is the first file. The first file is domain computer by OS. So this is the OS, Windows Server 2019 data center. Nothing really to do with this. This is the domain computers. It's also Windows Server 2019, which is the DC. Moving on, this is the domain groups. There are a lot of groups over here. DNS update groups, DNS admin, this and that and that. But yeah, this is not what I want. Okay, though we can use this to discover the domain admin or the remote user who has access to log into the LDP and so on and so forth. Over to the next guy. The next guy here is the domain policy. Domain policy simply states that lockout time is for 10 minutes, lockout duration 10 minutes. The maximum password age is 42 days. Minimum password age 1 day. Password history length is 24, and yeah, so on and so forth. So moving on, this is domain trust, no trust at all. This is the domain users by group. This is domain user. Now these are all the users. According to domain user, these are all the users. We can scroll down. Let's see what it says. Okay, I think there's a lot of information. Domain users. There are about 500 users in this company. So it's just going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, right? But yeah, let's go to the last file we have here, which is domain admins. Okay, this is what domain users by group. Sorry, domain users by group. So for the domain admins here, you can see we have Beverly Farrell. We have 4 domain admins. We have Beverly, Bradley, Bernard, and administrator. But on coming to the flags, you can see that Beverly account is currently disabled, as well as Bernard, right? The account are disabled, but Bradley and administrator account, yeah, is a normal account and is working. Okay, so yeah, we can definitely use those 2 accounts to do any malicious attack we want to do in future. Looking at the description of the remote management users, which means that yeah, you can see remote management users and remote desktop users, which means that Susanna Knight has access to log into RDP with definitely the description, the password in the description. Okay, so this is a very bad behavior, security behavior, but yeah, very good for an ethical hacker. So yes, on getting to that, I decided to netsec exec into RDP with the Susanna McKnight credential that we have, and it was pawned. You can see pawned over here, means that we can definitely log into the RDP, right? And logging into the RDP, let me just do that one more time, so I can show you what I found out there. Okay, yeah, so this is what the RDP looks like of Susanna McKnight. I don't know, McKnight. So from the RDP, you can see that it has user.txt already. And if I should double click on that, it says enumeration is the key. Okay, so let's bring this boy over here and slam that enumeration is key. Let's submit to see if that will go. And yep, that went. Oh. Yay! Did you hear that? I heard that. So yeah, enumeration is actually the key. Thank you RDP. I can just minimize. I don't need it for now again. Okay, so after this, next thing was to, yeah, my IP address actually did change. Okay, let me just show you. It did change. So I had a change of IP address 10.10.14.105 instead of the first one that was something like 75. I think so. This was 75.36, but now this is 14.105. So I just pinged it to know if it was active, and yes, it was definitely active. I pinged this and I pinged the domain and it was texted. So moving on, we are halfway there, as you can see from the terminal. We are halfway there. So moving on, I decided to use Certipy to find some vulnerable Active Directory templates. Now the command was using Certipy, and I used this version, actually version 4.8.2. The command was to use Certipy and then use find, because we want to find those vulnerable templates. So find then the user that authenticated, which is Susanna McKnight at agent.local, the password, change me to 2023 exclamation, vulnerable, and std out. Okay, So as you can see over here, we got some cool information out. We got the certificate name, you can see THM, and we got some cool stuff. Over here, looking down here, you can see that the vulnerabilities is down here, okay? We have some ESC1 vulnerability, which means that all authenticated users can enroll. Enrollee supplies subjects and templates allows client authentication. So let's see what we can do with this information. Okay, we can definitely do some cool malicious stuff with this. I'm going to show you how. Okay, so on getting to this, what after finding a vulnerable template, which is server auth, you can see server auth was a template that is vulnerable. We can then request for a PFX file from these templates. Okay, so I use the command certipy request -u, the username, the domain, the password, the CA template, and then the UPN. Okay, so I tried it the first time, it didn't work. Second time it worked, and it prompted me to this administrator.pfx. So after getting the administrator.pfx, we'd want to authenticate to that so that you get a hash and have access to that. But it didn't give me that hash due to I kept getting some error, right? It didn't prompt me to that hash. So I tried to remember. Let me bring your memory, refresh your memory. Bradley Otis is a domain admin and his account is active, right? So let's try using Bradley Otis. That's what I did in the next tab, okay? So I used Certipy to request from that template, the server auth template, but now I'm using it for Bradley Otis. And after requesting for it, I got the Bradley Otis.pfx file. I also updated my time to match the THM local. And yeah, I still didn't get access or get any hash. I was very angry at this point. I'm not going to lie. As you can see over here, I tried it like 4 times and it wasn't working. So what did I do differently? So I did some Google foo, some enumeration behind the scenes, and I discovered that you can definitely change the password, right? You can do what? You can definitely change the password of a user. Now let me show what I did that's caught my attention. So yeah, I did certify auth, just the same command, the PFX, the DCIP, the domain, but I included LDAP shell. Okay, I included what LDAP shell. So as you can see over here, I got authenticated. You can see who am I. I was listed out as Bradley Otis. But then I used the change password command to change Bradley Otis password into a very new strong password, 123 exclamation mark. I don't sound dodgy, but yeah, that's what I changed the password to. So after changing the password, I decided to authenticate with that using PSExec. As you can see over here, PSExec logged me in. Thank you, PSExec. So PSExec got me access. I logged in. I went over to the users. After the users, I did some direct listing of the content of the user directory. I saw administrator, I saw Bradley Otis, public, Susanna McKnight. But what is interesting to me is the administrator. Okay, on getting to the administrator, I discovered that it has some basic cool stuffs, basic folders that Windows administrators do have. On getting to here, I discovered it has. On getting to I pivoted to desktop. Okay, I pivoted to the desktop and then I got the root.txt, and this is the flag actually. I should copy this and let me just paste it over here and bring this over and paste it just right here and submit. Yep, so that's it, guys. That is how. So yeah, so that is how I rooted this machine. And yeah, I hope you join me in my next video where I'll be hacking reset. Reset is the last video of this certification playlist. And after reset, I'm going to write my P1 certification and I hope I pass. I know I'm going to pass. But cheers, guys. Peace out. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you want to.